Hi folks, TheFilipinaPea here, and today, back by popular demand, is another installment of Mailbag Friday, where I respond to your questions, emails, and requests for advice. As my channel grows, I get a lot more correspondence, and just when I thought I'd heard it all, you guys surprised me again. This time, we got a guy who's falling for the Chinese nanny scam. A man who's trying to date a 29-year-old woman with a 10 o'clock curfew. And a guy who's intent on marrying a bar girl he's never met. I know, but hold your criticism until you've heard the details. So break out the popcorn, snuggle into that easy chair, and get ready to be amazed. So the first email is from someone by the name of Long Doc Dong. Okay, he's from San Francisco, California, who writes, "Hello, Miss P. I hope you can tell me whether I'm being scammed. This all started when I made an account on a Filipina dating site." He gives me the name of the site, but I'm not gonna say it here, guys, because it's not their fault. "And I began talking to a Filipina who's working as a nanny in China. We started chatting every day, sometimes for hours, and after a few months, we fell for each other. The thing is, I've never seen her, except for the pictures in her dating profile. When I asked her if we could do a video chat, she explained that her employers took her smartphone away and replaced it with a simple phone that doesn't do video chat. Anyway, her contract is up in a few months, and she really wants to come visit me here in the US. She went to a visa agency in China, and they said they could get her a tourist visa and streamline the entire process so they could just send her the visa when it was approved. Besides the fee for the agency and the cost of the visa application, they said they also needed money for her medical exam and fingerprinting, and money for the airfare. It totaled $2,800, which I transferred to a bank in Hong Kong. Ooh. But now, they're saying I have to prove I can afford to support her during her stay here, and they're asking for a lot more personal banking details. That's when I started seeing some red flags, and I'm wondering if this is legit. Please help before I go farther down this path." Oh no, Mr. Dong? That's when you started seeing some red flags? Okay, I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt and assume you're new to my channel, because for the last 3 years, I've been trying to protect you guys from this kind of stuff. This is the classic Chinese nanny scam. Although they can pull it from just about anywhere, they usually claim they're working in China or in the Middle East because it's more believable. But there's a good chance you weren't even dealing with a Filipina. They chat with you until you say you love them and you want to visit you in the West. If only they had the money to make it happen. My guess is you'll never see her or the money again, and you should definitely not send another penny or give out your personal banking details. I'm so sorry this happened to you, but for the sake of all the other people who will be faced with this scam, let's do a post-mortem on the tragedy to see where you went wrong. I know a lot of you guys will say that Dong's first mistake was going online to find a girlfriend, but I've already told you what I think about that, and I don't want to beat a dead horse. So the first thing that should have gotten your attention was when she said she couldn't video chat. It's really suspicious that her employer took her phone away, but replaced it with another phone. I suppose it's possible. Chinese employers are notoriously difficult to work for, but I have a hard time believing that she couldn't find a way to chat face-to-face with the man she loves. But the big red flags concern the visa. Getting a tourist visa to the US is hard enough. But for a single Filipina in a foreign country who's never even met the man she's coming to see, it's virtually impossible. And a visa company can't just get the visa for you and send it to you. The US requires you to appear in person for an interview at one of its embassies. So our story's already falling apart. They also don't require a medical exam for a tourist visa, and fingerprinting is done for free at the embassy. Besides that, you don't buy your plane tickets until after you've been approved for the visa, and you can handle that yourself. So this thing has scam written all over it. But what really shocks me is how many people fall for it. How do you get so attached to someone you've never laid eyes on, except for a photo on a dating profile? And like I just said in a previous video, for all you know, you might be talking to someone in Nigeria with ChatGPT, using AI to tell you exactly what you want to hear. If you're that drawn to a woman, just tell her to go home after her contract's up and take a short trip to the Philippines to meet her there so you can check her out as well as her family. What's the rush? But you want to hear something really astounding? That's the second email I've gotten just this week about the same kind of scam. Come on, guys, wake up! So now let's hear from Brian G, who doesn't say where he's from. Brian says, Dear P, I've been in the Philippines for almost a year now, so I'm not totally new to the culture, and I think I know how things work around here. Last week, when I was in northern Mindanao, I came across a beautiful Filipina who was selling street food. I bought something from her and we started talking. I knew within just a few minutes that I wanted to get to know her better, so I started flirting a little and ended up asking if she'd like to go on a date. She acted very flattered, and it felt like she wanted to say yes, but she said to let her think about it and ask her again the next day. I didn't want to push her to exchange numbers, so I decided to just go back the next morning. When I did, she seemed happy to see me, but when I asked her out again, this time she told me that she could, but I have to meet her parents first, and that she had a 10 o'clock curfew, even though she's 29 years old. What? So this time, I exchanged numbers with her and told her I'd call her when I returned to Mindanao the next week. I really did have to leave for a few days and I can go back, but now I'm having second thoughts about the whole thing. I understand the traditional culture and how you're expected to meet the parents, but what's the deal with a 29-year-old having a 10 p.m. curfew? Is this normal? Or is she just making excuses to scare me off? I really don't want to get involved in a situation I'll regret, but at the same time, she's probably the most gorgeous and appealing woman I've ever met. So what do you think is going on? Okay, Brian, I don't know much about the whole situation, but I'll give you my best guess. When you ask her out and she didn't give you the answer right away, there's nothing particularly unusual about that. Sometimes Filipinas don't want to say yes right off the bat, and we make sure you really want to date us by seeing if you'll make the effort to try again. Maybe she really did want to think about it. Or maybe, and this is my guess, she had to ask her parents' permission. Now, as far as the 10 o'clock curfew, that seems a little extreme for a woman her age, but it's not impossible. Like I said, there are some very conservative families out there. So in my opinion, she really does want to go out with you, but there's something else you want to consider. Families like that are often stuck together like glue, and I'm sure you've heard that when you marry a Filipina, you marry her family. But in this case, it might be more than you can handle. It might be a long time before you can see her alone, and you can expect constant family interference. Everything from how late she's allowed to talk to you on the phone, to where you're allowed to take her. And if you end up having a child with her someday, her parents are almost guaranteed to meddle, telling how to raise them and what religion they should be. The fact that she's 29 and still completely under their control should make you wonder what kind of future you'd have with her. And if you think you can just waltz into her life and take her away from her parents, forget about it. Ain't gonna happen. This kind of control, call it brainwashing if you like, lasts forever. No matter how attracted you are, you really gotta think about the long run. Good luck, my friend, and keep me posted. So finally, we come to the main course as we hear from David L. in Green Bay, Wisconsin. What's up, David? Miss P. Oh, come on, guys. You know you can just call me P, right? I know you're just trying to be polite, but somehow it makes me feel old. Miss P. About a year ago, I started communicating with a woman living in Pampanga. Everything was going great, and I wasn't picking up any red flags, except that she seemed to be really vague about her employment. She doesn't live anywhere near her family, so I knew she must be working somewhere, but she kept giving me half answers. Finally, she started crying and admitted that she was a bar girl in Angeles City. I almost broke things off then and there, but she pleaded with me to have faith in her and give her a chance. We continued talking, and I told her that if she wanted to be with me, she'd have to quit being a bar girl. I bought her a laptop so she could get a job as an online virtual assistant. And I know you said never send money, but she needed living expenses while she transitioned into a respectable job, so I'm supporting her as well. I know you're going to tell me I'm crazy, but I plan to retire in the Philippines in 7 months and marry this woman. I'm going to do it no matter what anyone says. So the reason for my writing you is to ask if you'd like to interview us after we get married, and let us show everyone that sometimes love can overcome anything. Wow, David. Yeah, sure, that'd be a fascinating story, and I'd be happy to interview you guys, but maybe after you've been married for a year or two, just to be sure you made it past the honeymoon. And if you can get her to talk about her previous work history, then she's pretty brave. I can already think of a whole bunch of questions I'd like to ask. But even though you didn't ask for my opinion or my advice, I'm going to give it anyway because it's my show. But it might not be the opinion you're expecting. First of all, the people who are watching might not understand the difference between the Filipina bar girls and women who work as escorts in other countries. In the West, that profession is usually related to drug addiction. But here, it's usually a question of financial desperation. And sometimes, it's even the girl's parents that pressure her to go to work there. If the family's really poor, sometimes they think that's the only way. Horrible, I know, but I'm just telling it like it is. Now, I'm certainly not saying that every single bar girl is a misunderstood angel, but sometimes they're just average everyday women when they first start out anyway. Another thing that could slightly change my opinion of your chances is the fact that she admitted she was a bar girl, even if it took you a while to get to the truth. For a Filipina to admit something like that is actually pretty darn incredible, because in our culture, you'd do anything you could to hide the truth. So you gotta give her some credit for that one. Now, I personally don't think it's a good idea to get romantically involved with a bar girl, because the risk of having problems later on is much greater. Because of her high body count, she might have problems bonding with a man, and she could also have trust issues, diseases, and an unhealthy view of men in general. But as you said, your mind is made up, so all I can do is ask you to please reconsider this rush to getting married. She's lucky to have someone like you, someone to give her a chance. And trust me, she'll wait. Well, that's it for another Mailbag Friday. I appreciate all your questions, so keep them coming. And I'll be back on Tuesday with something new. Till then, folks. If you think about it, I'm kind of like a doctor, with my finger on the pulse of the Philippines. I can help to vaccinate you against all the problems you may encounter when visiting here, with an injection of information and humor. If you appreciate my services, feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell for your next dose of Dr. P. Consider becoming a patron, where you'll not only be supporting my channel, but you'll receive exclusive videos and features. Now, what seems to be the problem?
I got a stiff joint.
A stiff joint? All right, let's have a look. Oh my, you sure do. I think I better keep you here overnight for observation. And I got a great bedside manner.